before I unmute you so that you could ask your question. So I welcome you all to this to the first episode of Growing Your Agribusiness online roundtable discussion. Now this is supposed to run every month from now to December, and it's brought to you by Agile Agribusiness Academy in collaboration with the Agro Mentor. What we plan to do with this seminar is to let you into some basic things you need to know as an agribusiness expert, as an agribusiness entrepreneur, as an agribusiness professional, or someone in food and agricultural field. So this evening, to kick off this discussion, we have one of our guests. Is someone I respect so much. He's actually joining us from, the last time I checked, he was in Zambia. I don't know if he's still in Zambia at the moment. We have actually shared with you his profile, and is a voice to be reckoned with when it comes to agribusiness in Africa. And he will be sharing with us how to leverage on emerging technology to grow your agribusiness. So this is going to be very useful for agribusiness entrepreneurs. It's going to be very useful for people who are working with agribusiness startup. These are the tools that you're supposed to arm yourself with. I don't want to preempt him. I don't want to begin to go ahead of what he will say, but I want you to listen carefully and get something. Please, if you have a question, pen them down. If you forget at the end of the meeting, just type them on the chat. Then at the end of the meeting, we collect the question. So with all, we are privileged to have in our midst this evening John Agboola. He's currently with Agbo, pioneering their agricultural foundation all the way from Zambia, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll leave this stage now for John. John, you're welcome to this episode of Growing Your Agribusiness Roundtable discussion. Hello, John, can you hear me? Sorry, I'm just admitting him. I thought he was already okay. Hello, John, can you hear me?
Hi, Nicholas. Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Sorry, I was actually assumed that you're already in the room, so I was actually thinking that you had already joined. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
All right. Yeah. Before you joined, you have already done an introduction. You have given an intro to what you're going to be expecting this evening. So we are glad to have you. So you can kick the ground flying or running. You're welcome, sir. We're so happy to have you this evening, sir.
Yes, thank you, Nicholas. And first and foremost, my apology for the mix-up in time. I was thinking the meeting is 5 p.m. Nigeria time, but hopefully I didn't know that it has changed to 4.
Thank you. All right.
So my apology once again, and thank you for this.
Thank you. No text, we understand. Thank you so much.
So, without much, yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I can see. Yeah. So, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen, sir.
Oh, excellent.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, again, thank you so much, Nicholas, for putting up a platform that helps us to connect with different players across the value chain, and also to see how we can leverage on individual capacity to build the agricultural sectors. One of the advantage, or one of the things I'm going to be discussing for this meeting is to look at, take us from a perspective where we are able to see what's in existence in the last 100 years and what we possibly should be looking at in the next 100 years. And what that implies is that in a few years to come, how many people are we able to feed? And what are the things that we need to put in place to be able to feed people? So that's just one of my point of discussion. To start with, I'd like to give some background. Uh, yes, I would like to give some background on the key topics. And yeah, so one of the things that comes to mind when I was putting up some of the things I'm going to be discussing about is to look at where do we start from, or what was the best practices initially, and where are we currently, and where should we focus our agricultural sectors to meet up with the growing demand. And one of the things that comes to mind, if you looked at these two images very well, what does it take to move from the last 100 years to the next 100 years? What does it look like? In the real context, in most of the settings, not too many things have changed in terms of how production is done. For most of the small scale farmers, they still use the hoe and the cutlasses to cultivate, and not the right spacing in terms of what the spacing should look like for crop, and also what the numbers of this is a robotic seed sowing machine that can easily sow a seed. You just plug it in and it's continuing to sow the seed at the spacing that you have set, and also at the depths that you set. So this shows a kind of clear distinctions of what is in existence currently as compared to what we have initially. And what that implies is that one of the things we are going to continuously leverage on is that we'll continue to leverage on technology to develop the agricultural sector. So that's just one of my brief introductions to start with. And then on to the next thing is that if we are saying that we need to continuously produce food to feed the growing population, what does that look like? So how are we going to feed 9.7 billion people by 2050 without damaging the natural resources? And so this question will keep popping up because take for instance, people who have to eat 2 times a day, or people who eat 3 times a day, or there are people that even eat 5 times a day. Maybe someone like me eats like 4 times a day if I'm really hungry. And if you look at that change of operation, if we are saying that we will feed 9.7 billion people by 2015, I looked at the first image I showed in terms of technology and the crude implements that we use to produce food, then you see that if we continue to produce food without leveraging on technology, we are likely not to be able to feed this growing population. So what that implies is that there is massive potential for us to continue to feed the growing population, but to do it sustainably without damaging the natural resources like biodiversities and things like that, we need to leverage on technology to do that. Permit me to share with you some quick facts and figures of what exists across the globe. So I've mentioned earlier on that 9.7 billion people, we need to feed 9.7 billion people by 2050. So what that means is that in the real context, we must increase global food production by up to 70% using less than 5% of land. Currently now a lot of innovations are coming on board for us to open up land, cultivate more, but the ability to, what technology helps us to do is that we can be able to scale up production while at the same time minimizing natural resources, not depleting the soil or also not depleting the biodiversities in the soils and stuff like that. And then one exciting fact for me, one of the statistics is that by 2050, it is projected that if we involve young people in agriculture, we are able to boost food production by up to 60%. That's a very interesting statistics, and I've dived into that in another later slide to look at what does the sector hold for young people, and how can technology be that catalyst that can adopt or attract young people into agriculture? So that comes with engaging more young people into agriculture. But before you engage more young people into agriculture, they want to see viable opportunities. They want to be able to leverage on technology and not go back to whole and core classes like we used to do in the olden days, right? So another exciting fact is that agricultural impact on climate change continue to be a major point of concerns or discussions across the globe. And currently for the UN Food System Summit coming up this year. So if you looked at contribution to greenhouse gas emission, you have 17% directly through the agricultural activities, and up to 7 to 14% through the land use changes. So literally, agriculture occupies up to 40% of the land surface, and irrigation of agricultural crops comprise of 70%. So it means that there's a big role between agriculture and its impact on climate change. And what that means is that with technology, we can be able to predict what that looks like. We can be able to also share insights on what the best practice should be, on what farmers should be able to do to minimize some of the impacts of climate change on their food productions. And one exciting fact is that as of 2020, there was a projected reductions in yield in some countries for up to like 50% in yield production because of the effect of climate change. And if we continue at these rates, we are likely to fall in terms of revenue by up to 90% by 2100 years to come. So again, some of these things just to give us an insight of what it looks like when we talked about the climate change impact on agriculture and how technology can play a bigger role in solving those problems. To move on now into the exciting parts is that the agricultural sectors need to get smart. It's not a question that we need to argue. It's not something that we continue to argue. It's something that is evident that we all need to know that agricultural sector needs to get smart. It needs to get digital. And what that implies is that if you looked at across the value chain, particularly in developed countries, lack of access to technologies, lack of digitalizations has stagnated the agricultural productions. And that's why you see when a country like US is increasing their productions, having maybe 10 tons per hectares for maize, or even more than that. A country like Nigeria is having 2 tons per hectare, per hectare. So all of this depends on how we leverage on technology to help us drive agricultural transformation. So the question now is that how do we, what are the exciting things that we need to know? How does agriculture play those big role how does technology play the big role in supporting agriculture as much as possible? So that takes me to one of the exciting documents prepared by McKinsey lately, where they were actually discussing about digitalization in the context of economic sectors. And one of the things they come about is that of all the economic sectors and industry, agriculture is the least digitalized of all of them. So meaning that where if you go to ICT, if you go to media, if you go to finance and insurance, digitalization is actually fast picked up by as compared to other sectors. So agriculture, for instance, continue to suffer this backwardness. And how do we change that? Take for instance, in terms of employment, less than 1% is still employed in terms of digital agriculture. But the potential is there. The potential is massive. It depends on how we leverage on the untapped potentials using digital and smart innovations to work on agriculture. So another interesting thing that's emerged from one of my findings is that what does it look like if we looked at some of these statistics, figures, and the likes, and we looked at what lies ahead in terms of what are the trends that are shaping the future of food system. Uh, and then I mean, to speak into context, I looked at the global pandemic, and one of the things about the global pandemic is that it has led to disruptions in the way we produce food, in the way we distribute food, and things like that. So it disruptions and in through the global pandemic on the food system would definitely lead to new innovations. And what that implies is that there are new innovations that are being battered in terms of market innovations, in terms of food production innovations, and in terms of logistics and the likes. And another interesting thing is that if we looked at the growing populations, the that shows that agriculture has got its potential because we need to continue to feed more people. And what that means is that if you look at the growing world fattest 20 growing cities, uh, you look at the like of Kinshasa in Congo, it's growing at the rate of 4.6% per year. Lagos alone is going by 3.6, and the likes of Lunda in Angola is going by the rate of 5.8% thereabouts. So those are the things that shows us the potentials of technology and innovations uh, to drive food productions using all of those. And then one exciting part is that I mentioned something about our ability to be able to increase food production by up to 60% if we engage young people in agriculture. But how do we do that? So there's a new approach to engaging young people and retaining them in agriculture. So you can see the example that I gave here with the image of Work and Learn by the Soilless Farm in Nigeria, and then the Youth Initiative by CJ Big Data in Agriculture. So if we really want to get young people engaged in agriculture, and you looked at how to also retain them in agriculture. So there's a place where we leverage on technology. There's a place where we leverage on innovations to be able to engage them and then make agriculture look attractive for young people. Then climate change, of course, climate change will continue to be a threat or impact on agriculture. It's fundamental that we play a key role in ensuring that we use smart innovations and technology to be able to leverage on climate change. And then one exciting thing is that science, innovations, and technology continue to advance year in, year out with robotic, with AOT, artificial intelligence, and stuff like that. So we can definitely leverage on science, innovations, and capitalize on that to be able to promote agricultural productions and the likes. But also you can look at the likes of land availability, and a lot of land, there's land expansion now. People want to grow more food, they want to cultivate more land, and that also shows where technology can leverage on to that effect. But foundations for action for us, and then how do we identify opportunities, how do we shape values, and also how do we drive impact using data innovations. I've listed some points, some statistics, and before we can say we want to do anything using digital innovations and technologies, we need to look at the foundations for action. What are the things that promote us, that propel us to be able to leverage on this industry to transform the agricultural sectors? One of them is that we can see that across the globe, widely, 4.8 billion people we have internet access by 2022. That's a lot of number to leverage on. If 4.8 billion people have access to internet, means that we can get food from the farm to the table easily using those approach, and then we can always leverage on data. Phones, that's more than the number of people that have access to a toilet across the globe. And then in another thing is that there are over 3,000 plus satellites in orbit as of May 2019. And then also we have up to 2.5 trillion gigabytes of data generated each day. That's massive data that have been generated and that we can always leverage on to make informed decisions and things like that. And then when you, in terms of when you move now closer to technology, technology is getting smaller, is getting cheaper, and it's easier to use these days. So like take for instance, you want to take a 10,000 hectares of land, you want to survey the land, and you can just fly a small drone and it takes all of the area map and give you your results, and you can look at the land density, the forest density and stuff like that. So exciting part is that we, all of these things set a foundation for us to actually make an informed decision as time proceed, as time goes on. So data and digital solutions are predicted to drastically change the food and farming system worldwide. Uh, how can we put this into context? We looked at uh, more than 50% greater adoption rates for technology. These days, people are seeing the importance of technologies. They are seeing the importance of digital innovations to drive efficiencies and productivity. So that what that means is that we're able to get a lot of adoption rates when we introduce new technology. But of course, it comes with simplicities, making sure that the technology can be easily used by people or by farmers that we are introducing it to. And then in another scenario is that through technologies and innovations, data and digital tools, we are able to increase our production, food production, our yield by up to 30 to 40% for all of our produce, whether it's maize or it's soybeans or whatever we are cultivating. We're able to leverage on technology to make accurate decisions, make predictions of what the soil looks like, what the organic content looks like, and what the nutrients supplement that you need for the land also looks like. But when you come to the aspects, when you move away from the yield and you looked at income, so the efficiency that we can drive with digital tools shows that we can increase farmers' income by up to 20 to 25% when we leverage on technology uh, to drive productivity. So what that means is that for every farmers, whether it's smallholder farmers, emerging farmers, and commercial farmers, we need to be able to put in digital technology for them. We need to be able to give them the digital solutions and tools that they need to make an informed decision. And on the other scenario is that uh, we are able to drive return in farmers' income per dollar invested. So that means we're able to drive up to 30 to 45 times farmers' return per dollar that they invest on digital technologies. And some of these things are not just numbers that people put in. These are years of research work that has been done, and that's when farmers adopt digital innovations, it's able to cut its cost as well. 10 times reduction in cost, at least. That one is you can drive efficiency by reducing your cost and also increasing your yield and increasing your income. So we are all of these shows a deeper analysis that has been done by BMGF ICT for Agriculture Strategy, which are really propelling the advantage and enormous potentials of digital innovations for agricultural food systems across the globe. Uh, so I've took this example from CGI platform for big data in agriculture, and then they prepare something like, what does a future farm looks like? If you ask me or you ask someone else, what does your ideal future farm looks like? So here we are looking at how to feed the future bit by bit, where we leverage on technologies, we leverage on innovations, we leverage on digital tools to make informed decision, and also we leverage on drones, on farm to cloud. We look at livestock, where you are able to leverage on sensors to determine what the feed consumption efficiency is for the cattle or sheep or goats, or what the milk efficiency production looks like. And also we're able to do a kind of Uber agribots, where your tractor is working and you are generating information from your tractors down to your phone. And a lot of this model we have at one of our future farm in Zambia, where you're able to track what your tractor is doing per locations. You're able to generate data of what the soil looks like, and all of this data comes directly from your machines to your phone. You can generate those data on your phone and things like that. So an ideal future farm leverage on technology to be able to drive productivities. And one of the emerging trends in agriculture recently is the ability to apply drones. But the interesting thing is that you can on your farm you can install sensors, and those sensors you can continue to generate data on what let's say for instance what the crop growth rate is, what the fuel consumption is in terms of machinery for cattle and sheep and goats. You can generate the feed consumption efficiency in terms of productions, milk productions, and the like. So all of those data can be collected aggregatedly. So indeed, the agricultural sector is very wide, but for each of the agricultural sectors, whether you are playing a role across the value chain, every value chain can be digitalized. Every value chain can leverage on technology to make and informed decisions. And as much as possible, this helps us to be confidently say that we can be able to feed the growing populations, but also we are able to leverage on data to make informed decisions in terms of policy as well. So again, I dive deeper into what the foundations for action looks like, or what the opportunities or impact will look like if we continue to leverage on technology. So one of the statistics that come in handy is that adoption of IoT devices in agriculture, we reach 75 billion in 2020, but it will continue to grow 20% annually, according to BI Intelligence Survey. But one interesting fact that occurred to me is that with global smart agriculture, the market size by 2025 is projected to reach 15.3 billion US dollars, which has increased massively from 5 billion market size in 2016. You can imagine what we have in 2016, 5 billion, and what we will have in terms of market potential for smart agricultural innovations by 2025. So looking at those background, where do we see ourselves? Where should we play a role? Where should we leverage on opportunities to be able to support ourselves as a farmer or as value chain operators or stakeholders? One is we need to look at agricultural drones. A lot of people are leveraging on drones, and in Nigeria, it's becoming a trending with the young people coming on board to leverage on drones to be able to determine what the soil looks like, what the feed looks like, and also make some informed decision. And then we need to also leverage on the smart greenhouses where you're able to produce food under a control system, meaning that on control system, you're able to produce food where you're able to feed your plants with all of the nutrients using a control system with machines. One click, it's drop water into the crop, and then one click, it applies maybe pesticide or fertilizer, so to say. So we need to also look at those aspects of smart greenhouses, and then we need to look at predictive analytics for smart crop and livestock farming, where you're able to determine what the soil content looks like with your mobile app, your smart innovations or sensors. You're able to determine what fertilizer applications you should apply, amount of nitrogen you should apply to your soil, and things like that. And then we need to leverage on digital innovations for market linkages. So there are times that Agilco used to run, they run a digital platform that connects people to markets, farmers to markets. So all of these digital platforms like the likes of, so there's a new platform now launched by Konga It's called Konga Agri e-commerce agricultural producer, whether it's young people or whether it's older farmers to market. So as they create a platform like the way they run Konga for electronics, for everything. So there's a Konga for Agri e-platform that's able to connect people to markets, and also for each of the subscription, there's also a bonus attached to it that subscriber gets. So I can provide more information on that maybe in the comment section, so on how to go about that. Also, we need to leverage on digital innovations for commodity trading, and some of these things are actually picking up where people see farm online, and you can farm online, you can do the AFS commodity trading, and then also we can leverage on digital innovations for logistics, services, for inputs, for extensions, and things like that. But lastly, but not the least, we can also leverage on digital innovations for last mile feasibility or last mile technology in terms of smart mechanization solutions. So we have the likes of Uber for tractors, where people you just from your phone order for a tractor services, or your machines on the farm can do all of the work for you, and you generate the data of what the plant population looks like. You can generate data with your tractors of what the spacing looks like, and you can generate data on the soil content, organic materials, and things like that. So a whole lot that we can do with precision agriculture or precision planting that we can do. So what that implies is that we just individual have to identify how can I leverage my agricultural enterprise on digital innovations, and how can I tap into these potential markets of digital innovations for farmers, for agri-food sectors, so to say. So one of the things that I've put together is that for people that really want to learn more about agriculture and big data in agriculture, if you want to learn more about smart agriculture and digital innovations. So one of my best recommendations will be that you check out platform for big data in agriculture, CJ platform for big data. So I happen to be an ambassador for Youth in Data, running the initiative since 2018. But I mean, you can go to the website, you can join one of their community of practice, you can also leverage on some of their resources and also expertise to be able to see how they've over the years gathered a lot of data and also put in some, and you can check out the Inspire Challenge on digital innovations that are changing the face of agriculture across the globe. Also, there are a lot of resources online that you can leverage on through the Google search engine for digital innovations and smart agriculture. So again, that comes to my points that as much as possible, we need to leverage on technologies and innovations. We need to look at where we can identify opportunities. And at the long run, we need to be able to tap into the potentials of agriculture for increased productivities and for efficiency in across the value chain. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll welcome any question from the audience.
Wow, John, this is explosive. I have been taking notes. Like, there's this a whole lot. Thank you so much for this eye-opening session. I think there are a whole lot of opportunities for people. One of the things that stood out for me is the fact that if we must be able to feed people effectively and efficiently now and in the future, then we must have youth to be involved in food and agriculture. And how we can do that is to leverage on technology. Take technology out of agriculture, then you're not going to find youth there. So I think it's actually a very, very wonderful presentation, and it's a very, very great eye opener. So after this, quickly, this afternoon, I was reading online how that is it Hawaii has currently moved to providing IT solutions for pig farming in China, given the dwindling of phone sales of their general food scene. So now it begins to happen to me. My mentor was telling me that this is to tell you that the competition can come from anywhere. Like if people in the agri space are not ready to digitalize it, then other big tech industry will just come, digitalize agriculture, and before you know, they take over the whole stuff from us. So thank you so much for this insight. So now we're now open to question. Do you have anybody that have specific question to ask about how about the presentation that have been made so far? Remember, our discussion this evening is about leveraging agriculture to leveraging emerging technology to grow agribusiness. In this part now, when we talk about agribusiness from our presentation, it cut across farming to logistics to farmer linkages to trading, commodity exchange, and all of them. So please, if you have any question as regard to this presentation, please just identify with by raising your hand. For some of us that are following us on Facebook Live, you can drop your question on the comments section. We will read them and then we will try to ask. We try to provide answers to them. So, do you have any question, anybody, or any contribution as regards to the topic of destruction? Thank you. Okay, I think we have a question from JC. Jesse said, how can we assess this equipment in Nigeria? Sorry, Jesse, by equipment, what are you talking about? Can you throw more light on equipment? Which specific equipment are you referring to? You can unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for this enlightenment and for the opportunity to be part of this meeting. In the excess of equipment, I mean farming equipment. Like for those for me personally, I intend going on farming of agriculture of cashew nuts. So cashew nuts specifically. So the equipment, the modern technology equipment, I will really need them to aid the farming. So that is what that's my question, sir.
All right, thank you. Okay, so sir, can you answer the question?
Yes, thank you very much, JC, and for that wonderful question. So one of the things is that we've come into the age where it's easy to get technology. One of the things that limits particularly small and emerging farmers from getting technology is finance. I mean, I've come to realize with some of my years of experience working in the digital technologies and agricultural mechanization sector, is that it's quite difficult for small-scale farmers to get to be able to buy mechanization, to buy tractors, for instance. And what that implies is that we can be able to support farmers by, let's say, there's a pool of fund where farmers are able to get technologies through that. But to answer your question specifically, there are agents or there are dealers or distributors in each country that works with farmers to supply them those equipment. So while the equipment is possibly made or assembled outside of Nigeria markets, I know that there are a lot of distributors that can be able to access those that can be able to supply you those technologies. So once you are ready to access those technology, you just possibly let me know, or you let any one of us know. We can put a recommendation together for you, or you reach out to the deal. We put the list together for dealers that can be able to support you and also provide training on those technologies as well. Then you reach out to them, and then they let you know. But like I said, it's difficult for particularly for small-scale farmers and for emerging farmers to be able to buy the expensive technologies like the tractors, the big tractors, and the likes. But once you know the specificity of what you want to do, how many hectares of land you want to farm, what equipment, what technology will you need on that, then I'm happy to support you to put in some recommendations on what you should be looking at, and also recommend some best practices of organizations that you should reach out for those kind of initiative. Yeah, thank you. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, Nicholas, I don't know whether I answered that question correctly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're able to answer it correctly.
Yes, thank you. I'm not sure whether we lost Nicholas, but yeah, Nicholas, are you there? Or maybe I just go ahead. If anybody have any question, maybe you can just unmute.
Okay, John, I am Oladimeji. I hope you can hear me. I have a question for you. Can you hear me?
I think I can't hear you, but maybe the internet is fluctuating, but you can.
Yeah,
Can continue, or possibly you have the questions in the comment. Larry, yeah, I think I can hear you now. You can go ahead.
okay. Yeah, okay. The question I want to ask is about the data. Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm always interested in the data factor of agriculture because it's very, very important. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Okay,
you.
good. So it's very important that farmers work with data. Right now, if anybody's going into the agribusiness sector, you have to understand the percentage of how what you are planting is in need in the community, how number of tons, and how the weather factor is going to affect what you are planting. Now, the challenge right now with small farmer that is trying to come up in the industry is how to gather those data. For example, like where can we get the data about what the percentage or the quantity of the rain that will occur or fall during this year? That's number one, and the location as well. Then number two is if I am planting tomatoes, where can I get the data, even if I'm buying or free, how the previous reaction or previous harvest and planting of tomato is in my country? Right now in Nigeria, okay, I want to produce like maybe 10 tons of tomato per year. Where can I get the data of when the peak period and the glut period is? Probably, I don't know, you mentioned you are one of the ambassador of the big data CGIAR. I'm not sure if the site is also capable of giving such data.
Yeah, thank you so much, Larry, for these insightful questions. And I like those questions because it really dive into some of the things that we are supposed to be looking at, particularly as a country. When you looked at whether it's developed country or some of the developing countries, so I happen to work a bit in Kenya and also South Africa. And then one of the experiences I see is that some of these little activities around getting data for rainfall patterns and the likes are in existence, even in some of these developing countries. But it's one of the things that we are still yet to get the accuracy for Nigeria, for instance. Uh, we are still struggling in terms of aggregating data together. And one of the things that we can continually do is that there's little role that someone like smallholder farmers can play in predicting what the amount of rain will look like, or what's the amount of rain you should expect. But who plays the key role there is the government and the private sector. So the government has a weather forecasting agency, NIMET and the likes, and their sole responsibility as opposed to it's to get those data, aggregate it together, make it available, and also ensure that the predictions are right. So sometimes some of the predictions are not right, but it's well understood because, of course, the impact of climate change also change most of this data prediction for weather and the likes. But I'll say that one way to approach it is that, in as much as I will say that some of these data are not in existence. So I strongly believe I've gone a couple of times, gone on NIMET website and download data on what the rainfall pattern looks like and things like that. So there you can get those accurate predictions on weather forecast patterns and the likes. And when you go to big data platform, so and I mentioned something about Inspire Challenge that they organize every year. So you see some initiatives that are leveraging on big data, on satellite imagery to get data on weather systems, on climate change and things like that. So you can leverage on those data as well. In fact, the CIGIA platform of big data in agriculture has a kind of database called Guardian. Guardian as GARDIAN. So over there, you can have access to more than 300,000 plus data on different aspects of the value chains, whether it's weather, whether it's crop productions and the likes. And it's easy, it's open access. So that's one thing that people are also putting. We need to continue to work on open access for data, ensuring that farmers and young agriculturists like us have access to this data, and we don't have to pay fee to access this data. And then to come back to your questions on tomato, so in 2014, I did a study. I was part of a team that did a study for Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And the study that we did.
Just sitting down, we'll start working.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought so. Sorry, Alex, I don't know whether you can mute your mic. Thank you. So to talk about your question, back to the question on tomato. So we did a study on the tomato value chain in Lagos State. And one of the things that we find an interesting statistics of what the peak period looks like and what the glut period looks like and what the price looks like. And that study was done in 2014. Just imagine a lot of things have changed right now. But one thing that I know is that if you go to the website of Eastwood Seed, so Eastwood Seed is one of the leading agricultural seed company in the world.
So can you drop the link on the chat for us? The name yes, on the chat.
Yes, I'll drop it after this. So Eastwood Seed, okay. It's one of the largest agricultural seed company in the world. And what they do is that they put in some of this, whether it's the agronomic knowledge that you need to know about tomato productions, they put it together in a kind of format that you can see it. And also what they do also is that they provide information on markets or what the market looks like. But aside from that, there is another small agricultural firm in Nigeria called Sense Agric. So Sense Agric gather weekly market information. Even though it might be little, but to me, it's actually a lot of work that they are putting in place. So they gather weekly agricultural market informations like tomato prices or prices of rice, maize, and weekly they post on their Instagram or social media. So, and then you can see what the price looks like. So that way you're able to plan yourself on each of those periods and say, if the tomato price is like this here, what does that look like in the north? Of course, the market variations actually happens because when you look at north, the price might be quite different for what you have in Lagos, which is the hub for most of this agricultural food. That's where most people leverage on as well. But all of these data are actually in existence, and I can maybe one of the things Nicholas can put together in this in the report for this webinar is to put some of this link for reference. But I will type one or two links in the comment section, I don't know whether that answers your question, Larry, but one thing I can guarantee is that you can find information on some of these things on the big data platform as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. You actually nailed it. So we will look through all the websites and the organization you mentioned to see how we can add that to what we are currently into. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Oh,
thank you.
Somebody
Thank you
already
so
typed
much.
those links. Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, John. I think it has been a very enlightening section tonight. I think one of the things we also should also think about is the fact that these things are emerging technologies, and we are in emerging economy. So it's if you are looking to actually make an impact in agri space, and you don't want to do agri like your grandfather, I think it's another opportunity for you to start seeing how you can build your capacity in this aspect. And it's going to be a very, I love, so can you pull up that slide that talks about the potentials, how IoT will be in the future. I think I saw the market size of that slide that talks about the market size. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yes, I can put that up for you.
Okay,
Yes.
the size. So okay, so you see that by 2020, as at now, there is 75 million adoption of IoT, and it's expected to grow by 20% annually. So you cannot begin to position yourself and ask yourself question: How can I be of a value to African agriculture using IoT? Sometimes one of the major challenge we have with the new technology, emerging technologies, is that they are not designed for African system. So it's time for us to begin to think of how Africans can actually design an indigenous technology, combining the traditional technology with the modern technology to see how it can fit into our own peculiar problems. So this is an opportunity for you to start thinking wide and to start thinking out of the box to see how we can solve this problem. Thank you so much. I think if there's any way you want to do, please look at agricultural drones, look at smart greenhouse technology, look at technology that can enhance logistics. I think Kobo 360 is running something similar, something like that connect, like a platform that connects tractors, and then trailers, that is trucks. You can begin to think how you can improve on the current system in terms of the logistics. I think logistics is one of the major problems that we are facing in the African agri space. So thank you so much for this presentation. And in the absence of any other question, I would love to say that we are gradually bringing this presentation to an end. Permit me to introduce to you that Agritech Limited is putting together a comprehensive training by Agribusiness Academy. The goal is to build the capacity of Africa to feed Africa. There's a whole lot of knowledge out there, but there's a kind of knowledge gap that is still existing in Africa. So the question is, how can you leverage on this knowledge gap? So in case you want to know more about the Agribusiness Academy, feel free to always reach out to us on agritech@gmail.com. We'll be very, very glad to reach out to you. Thank you so much for being part of these. Thank you very much for being part of today's roundtable discussion. We are going to bring your way again another one by next month, and we're going to discuss something very important as regards to the food and agribusiness. So don't miss out. Thank you so much, John. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Thank you for being a very huge blessing and for showing up again. We really appreciate. God bless you.
Yes, thank you, Nicholas, and thank you so much, everyone, for the opportunity. So I've put in details for the Konga Agri e-commerce platform. So they're actually looking for young people that can help them also run this platform, or also support them with how to better do it, or connect them with farmers that have produce to sell. So I've put in contacts for onboarding at Konga. And by the time you write them on the Konga platform commerce, they can easily to support those innovations as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Over to you, Nicholas.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think we have come to the end of today's roundtable discussion. See you again next month. Keep doing agric and let's grow food to feed the world. Bye.
Bye.